ESEAP region to be able to do together and achieve. So from that, there were some elections and we created sort of an interim council, which then, I won't give the whole history just because we're quite short on time, but we then became a preparatory council, and we have been doing quite a bit of work up until today, up until the conference when our mandate will expire. And we just want to give you an update now on what we have been doing and what the next steps will be going forward. So, or do you want me to keep going? Keep going? Okay. So one of the things that we have been looking at over probably the past 18 months is a charter, which is sort of to formalise the structure around how the ESEAP Hub or how the ESEAP network can be formed. So we have been working on a charter for quite some time, and because we have so many different groups and different organisations across our region, we have representatives from Taiwan, from Singapore, from Australia, from Malaysia. We've been coming together regularly. I think we've had 11
online meetups and 2 face-to-face meetups, one in Malaysia and one in Berlin, Germany recently.
So we've been meeting regularly and talking about how can we create a structure that will help support us going forward and be really a true representation of across our region. We don't want one large group to dominate or one group to be sort of overrepresented. So we've been looking at how we can do that through the draft charter. Now this draft charter was released I think about 6 to 8 weeks ago. I have the link up here. I'm not sure if that's easy for everyone to view, but it is available if you look on our meta page. The aim was to provide 6 to 8 weeks for everyone to provide feedback and comment on that draft charter.
Okay.
Yep, from today. We would really like to have more comment. We've received some, which has been really constructive and helpful, but we would be keen to hear more. However, we do have another update which we want to provide, which is that the 4 of us, myself, Dodie, Rep and Atherton, attended the summit in Berlin. And again, for new people, we're probably thinking, what is this? So the Wikimedia Foundation hold a summit for members to come from across the globe to gather in Berlin and look at the movement charter, so the direction of the whole movement and how we will progress, what's our strategic direction through to 2030. So the movement charter was released again just a little while ago and is open for consultation. So the Wikimedia is based on the Wikimedia 2030 strategy to become the essential infrastructure of the ecosystem of free knowledge, and anyone who shares our vision will be able to join us. So it's really looking at how can we put a system in place at the global level, and what kind of structure can we put in place at the global level to help us achieve that strategy. So the Movement Charter Drafting Committee, also known as the MCDC, have been working at that at a global level, while our group in the ESEAP Preparatory Council has been looking at a charter for us in our region. So both of those are currently in draft, and they're both undergoing a huge amount of discussion. And one of the outcomes at Berlin is that there is still a lot of work needed and a lot of feedback provided on the movement charter at the international level, which is having impact on our ESEAP charter. So just a little bit more, the draft movement charter, as I said, outlines the functions and the directions for the future. It has the roles, the responsibilities, the rights and sort of like common values for across the movement. The movement charter proposes a global council for movement governance, and the movement charter will have a global council assembly and a global council board from the members of the global council assembly. The larger, the international movement charter also sees a role for hubs, which is what we would like, which is what we are in our region, the ESEAP Hub. And there, it looks like there will be an expanded role for hubs in that larger movement charter. There were over 150 people assembled in Berlin, really looking at, we workshopped a lot of feedback, a lot of ideas to try and improve the movement charter. And there's still some significant work. The movement charter drafting committee are still working on that. So while we were in Berlin, we had a meeting with the four of us. And Johnny was in Berlin as well. Johnny was somewhere probably there. And we talked about how the larger movement charter will impact, and already we can see some places in our ESEAP draft charter that conflict with the movement charter. So we have, while we released our draft charter, we think it needs a lot more work and we need some more time to complete that work. But we also wanted to talk about this with everyone here today and provide what we think are some options for going forward. What should we do now with our draft charter, considering the international draft charter is also concurrently being constructed. We do have, I think, a slide, the next one, will show this is the international, the Wikimedia Foundation movement charter, the next steps, or the movement charter drafting committee next steps. So we are currently approximately here in this zone, roundabout leading up to the 20th of May. Sorry, my slides, the words have moved a fraction, but they're taking the feedback which has been gathered at the international level, and we'll be consolidating it into a final version of the movement charter. After that has been released, you'll be able to see the final text from, I think it will be released around about the 18th of June, so just over a month from now. You have time to review it, look at it, again, talk about it in your communities, and then there will be a voting period to ratify the movement charter, approximately 25th of June to the 9th of July. So that's coming up in the next 6 to 8 weeks at that international level.
Okay, so focus that leads to that process during the Wikimedia for last year. We gathered the Secretary Council based on the voting at that time with the mandate until the ESEAP conference here in Kota Kinabalu. That was the original plan, but then due to the alignment with the global strategy conference, we need to extend this for another couple of months, like what Belinda has mentioned. Just have to get more feedback from you all before we have the final voting in July. We're still at the key decision-making point of the process and seek the ESEAP community input and preferred direction. So this will be open for the next two months, as what we have mentioned before. We will inform you all of the links and where you can take your input for us, so we can consolidate as much process as possible. So based on what we have agreed, actually there are basically two options: either to extend the mandate for 2 months, as what Brenda has said, or to proceed straight away right now. And maybe we
Sure. So yeah, as the Preparatory Council, we've discussed what can we do looking at our draft charter and seeing that there are changes that need to be made, and for it to also align with the international movement charter. So we've come up with two options that we want to present to you here at the conference and to talk to you about, and maybe by the end of the conference we can come to a decision. So option one is that the ESEAP Prep Council, who should be concluding now, there is a short mandate to extend. We can extend our mandate just for a few months to complete this work. So the option one is that we are here gathered and we can seek your feedback on the current draft charter, and then we can, if you agree to extend our mandate, then we can work on aligning our ESEAP charter with the movement charter in July, and then we can present that to the community for your vote in July, and then we can proceed to elections for a new ESEAP Council or ESEAP Hub probably in August once that work is completed. The other option, option 2, is that we just proceed with our current draft charter now, ESEAP charter, and that we accept some of the revisions that have been provided, and we can ratify it here now during the conference here in KK, and then we immediately start the election process for a new council.
The next 1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah. So those are the 2 options. We just quickly skip through. This is a bit of a timeline. So this is option 1. Here we are now. We gather some more feedback from everyone. We look to provide a final draft charter in July, and then we would have elections in August. Or option 2 is where we kind of push it through quickly now, which is where we receive final feedback from you here this weekend. We then ratify early in May, and then when we go to elections, those people will have to look at the international movement charter and then align ours at some point down the track. So there's a couple of risks that we just wanted to flag that we can see. Option 1 is that the movement charter may take a little longer than we expect. It might not quite be ratified by July, so that may take a little longer. But we also see quite a few risks with option 2. We might be ratifying our ESEAP charter and it might not really be complete. It might need more work. We would have to do some quite rushed elections. There'd be a fair bit of duplicating work, bit of difficult handover period just to quickly hand everything over, and just a general lack of continuity. The other piece of work we have also been looking at is a grant to receive some funding to actually have a staff member to help support with this work. And we don't actually need to have a charter in place for that grant through the foundation. So the other bit of information is some benefits from each one. We think option 1 has benefits where the current ESEAP Council who have been working on this can just maintain that continuity and that consistency in developing the charter. Be a simpler, clearer process for the community when it comes time for elections in August. And just, overall, it just seems to make sense that the existing Prep Council just continue for a few more months to finalise this piece of work, just that we weren't expecting the movement charter to really push this piece of work out. And option 2, the benefits would be that the ESEAP Hub, whoever is elected, would be able to immediately start work, but it would be a steep learning curve for those people to come. I think that's just about it. As the ESEAP Prep Council, we just wanted to be clear that our preference is for option 1. We prefer that we just extend our mandate by a few months. We think that makes the most sense. And we trust that you understand that while we would love to have presented a complete charter here this weekend, just due to a number of things that we did not foresee, it has pushed out the work and made it difficult for us to provide that final version now. But with a couple more months and with being able to align it with the international movement charter, we should see that piece of work conclude in August. So,
actually we can't have that really feedback right now, but due to the time constraint, we will have a ESEAP session at the breakout room to check on the schedule. If you are interested in this, if you are to give your input in this, you come to that session, and we try to find out as much as possible during this conference event. So try to check on the schedule, and we will see you there in the breakout room.
And just to note as well, please come and talk to any Prep Council member about this. We'll be around all weekend. Come and talk to us, ask us your questions, give us your feedback. We really want to hear from the community on this and hear your thoughts and ideas. Thank you. Thanks, Bert.